بسم الله الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه كما يحب ربنا ويرضى أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله الناصح الأمين اللهم صل على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين ثم أما بعد الحمد لله على نعمة الإسلام والسنة. All praise and thanks belong to Allah for guiding us to Islam and for guiding us to the Sunnah. We continue where we left off yesterday, and that is in looking at the statement of our mother radiyallahu ta'ala anha, our mother Zainab, when she asked the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam after he had woken up, and he woken up suddenly, and he mentioned that the wail was for the Arab, wailun lil Arab, min shar qad iqtaraba, woe to the Arab from an evil that has drawn near. And he had informed her that the wall that is, or that barrier that has trapped Ya'juj, and that has trapped Ya'juj wa Ma'juj, then it has opened up a certain amount. So she asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Anahliku wa fina as-salihun?" Shall we be destroyed while there are amongst us those who are righteous, those who are pious? And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Na'am, idha kathura al-khabath." He said, yes, if the khabath is widespread. Na'am, if the khabath is widespread, then yes, they all will be destroyed. We started to go over the meaning of the word khabath, that if the khabath becomes widespread, it becomes in multitudes, then all will be destroyed. The righteous, the ill-righteous, so on and so forth. Now, from the ulama, there were those who said that the meaning of the word al-khabath, then it means az-zina. Meaning that when fornication and adultery, when it becomes widespread, when it becomes a thing that is normal, then everyone is subject to being destroyed. Others from the ulama, they have mentioned that what is meant by al-khabath, then it means awlad az-zina. It means the illegitimate children. That when there are illegitimate children, and the illegitimate children are in abundance, then at this point, then all will be subject to be destroyed. The righteous and those who are not righteous. And as mentioned in yesterday's class, there are no contradiction between these two, because the two can coexist. And in fact, it can even be said that the one is the cause of the other. The spread of fornication and adultery, then as a result of it, then there will be children born from these haram relationships. From these haram relationships, then children will come from these haram relationships. So you find that both of them enter into this meaning. Also, you have from the ulama who have explained وَفَسَّرَهُ بَعْضُ الْعُلَمَاء بِالْفُجُورِ, that it means all types of sins and corruptions and foul and indecent behavior, that all of it enters into it. It's not just restricted to just illicit sexual acts, meaning fornication and adultery, but also other things will enter into that. Now I want us to reflect I want us to seriously reflect over the likes of this, because what the Prophet ﷺ has informed us of what was going to take place in the end of days is going to take place. It's a reality. It is not something that is figurative. It is not something that is a matter of fiction, but rather it is true. It will happen. Now, when these things happen, it should be known that they're not just going to happen overnight. It's not going to be as such that fornication and adultery is not widespread one day and then the next day is widespread. It is not that there will be a very small amount of illegitimate children one day and then the next day there will be a great multitude of illegitimate children. But rather you will find, for lack of a better term, is that the stage will be set. Now, so I want us to reflect, because there will come a time where this punishment, it will come down upon everyone. Those who are righteous, those who are not righteous, and so on and so forth. Now, so it's important to understand the setting of the stage, because in that there is a benefit for us. It's not for us to say, well, this is something that's far off in the future, so I don't have to worry about it. But rather, you may have to worry about it. This is something that your children may have to worry about. This is something that, regardless of whether you ever see Ya'juj and Ma'juj, you are living in a world in which the climate has already been set. Because when we look at these just two things that are mentioned, and also the third, we will find that these things are things that we see as being widespread in our time. The spread of fornication and adultery, this is widespread in our time. The multitudes of illegitimate children, this is widespread in our time. Now, of course, the degree to which these things are widespread, then it will differ from place to place. So their prevalence may be more in one country than they are inside of another country. Now, so we understand that, yes, this is the case and this is the reality. However, we live in a land where we understand that these things, they're not far-fetched. Why? Because we see them outside of our door day in and day out. And this is from the signs of the truthfulness of the messengership of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, because in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the likes of these things were not widespread, even amongst the kuffar, even amongst the disbelievers, even amongst the pagans and the like. You didn't find a great multitudes of this type of behavior. Now, and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam is informing that there will come a time where this will be totally opposite, where the sins and corruption, it will be widespread, when fornication will be widespread, when there will be a great multitudes of illegitimate children, it will be widespread. But also the ulama, they explain, as Shaykh Sulaiman al-Ruhaili, hafidhahullah ta'ala, he mentions, and I want you to reflect upon this and ask yourself, do you see this? Is this something that is totally bizarre to you, or is this stuff that perhaps we have witnessed here living in this land? He mentions, he says that some of the ulama, they say that all sins and corruption enter into this. نعم. وَأَنْ يُعْلَنْ الْفُجُورِ, in that individuals, they will openly broadcast their corruption. They will openly broadcast their indecent behavior. They will openly broadcast their crimes that they have done, and so on and so forth. Is this something that we see currently now? People broadcasting what they do, broadcasting their filth, boasting and bragging about their indecent behavior. I want to say indiscretions. No, their indecent behavior, because it is intentional. Now, their intentional, indecent behavior. وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. The Shaykh, he mentions, he says, من التهتك في اللباس, from people having قليل الحياء, having a very little bit of shyness as relates to their clothing. So these are individuals that they are clothed, they have clothes on, but they wear their clothes in an indecent manner. They wear their clothes in a very indecent manner and provocative manner. Now that this enters into al-khabath and the widespread of khabath. Now, is this something that we see day in and day out? That individuals, they are indecent in the manner in which that they dress, and they have no concern, nor do they care about how they dress, but they are just openly foul and open sinners with their indecency as regards to the manner in which that they dress. Now we see this. وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. Well, also فَتَكْشِفُ الْمَرْأَةِ عَنْ عَوْرَتِهَا, such that a woman, she would expose her private parts. She will expose her awra. She will expose that which she should be covering. Naam, from her hair, from her neck, from her breast, from her to the end of it. Naam, that they will expose their bodies. Is this something that is widespread, that the women, that they expose their bodies? Naam, even more so. And you will see how the ulama, they mention that you have some signs from the signs of the approach of the Day of Judgment that are one-shot signs. They happen, it's over, and then that's it. Now, they happen, and it's over, then that's it. From them, as an example, is the death of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That this was a sign that the hour was drawing near, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he came and then he died. Now, this was a one-time event. The passing of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then there are other signs now that are perpetual. They may come and gradually get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Now, and as relates to the indecency in people's dress and of women being uncovered, then for those of us who have lived for a few decades or more, now we know that when we were littler, it wasn't to the extent that it is now. They were still indecent in their dress then, but it's not like they are indecent in their dress now. It is way worse now. And if one were to go back, for example, to the 80s and to reflect on how the women they dressed back then, they would have perhaps not imagined that it can get worse. Now, but when you look to now, today's day and time, it has gotten so much worse, even more than what was imaginable just all those years ago. Now, so these are things, and these are from those signs that they happen and they perpetually get worse. Also, from that, because I don't want the women or the sisters in particular to think that we're just poking at them and it's just that they're being undressed and indecently clad. No, but also the men. As the Shaykh, he mentions, وَيَكْشِفُ الرَّجُلُ عَنْ عَوْرَتِهِ, and that a man will also show his awrah, that a man will also dress in an indecent manner. Now, and this is well known, that the people, they dress in an indecent manner. Now, from those who are from my generation, then we know that when it came to the likes of what they call skinny jeans, these were not jeans that were worn by men that were straight. Now, and these were not jeans that you saw all the time or even everywhere, or maybe even never you saw them. Now, because these were type of clothes that were restricted to a certain circle. So those who were outside that circle, this was not nothing that is normal. But now, in our time, these skinny jeans that the men are wearing, this is the status quo. This is what you see everywhere. This has become the norm, right? This has become the norm. And bila shak wa bila rayb, these types of pants, they are indecent. They are not befitting. A Muslim should never be caught in these jeans, period. For what? For what purpose? Now, ala kulli hal, when we reflect over things like this, then we see that, subhanallah, these are things that we see happening right now. These are things that we see happening right now. And this is from al-khabath. And when the khabath, when this filth, when it becomes widespread, then everybody is subject to being destroyed. The Shaykh, he mentions also what enters into this. وَيَنْتَشِرُ هَذَا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ, that it will become widespread amongst the people. نعم. وَيَرْضَ الرَّجُلُ لِمْرَأَتِهِ أَنْ تَجْلِسَ مَعَ صَدِيقِهِ. And a man, it will reach such a point of indecency that a man, he will be pleased with his wife sitting with his friend. نعم. وَيُسَلِّيهَا وَتُسَلِّيهِ بِالْخَلْوَةِ. And that they will enjoy each other's company and they will have fun and be entertain each other. Na'am, alone. That a man will find no problem with that. That a man, that his friend would enjoy himself, and have fun with his wife in private. Na'am, in private. أو بحضوره من غير حجاب. or with him being there. Na'am, with him being there. Meaning that what? That a man will find no problem for his friend to sit with his wife and to joke and to laugh and to indulge in conversation and to console one another and to share secrets and to offer advice and so on and so forth in private. He'll find no problem with that. That his wife having this type of relationship, indecent relationship with his friend. And you can also take the opposite, that there's certain women that will find no problem with her friend having that type of relationship with their husband. Na'am, either in private or with the third party being there. With the third party being there. So much so that Shaykh mentions, تضحك مع صديقه أشد ما تضحك مع زوجها. That's to the point that she'll be laughing and joking with the husband's friend even more than she laughs and jokes with her own husband. Now, is this something that has taken place in this day and time? When you have individuals who they are closer and feel that they are closer as friends with their spouse's friends than their own spouse. They can relate more to their spouse's friends than they can relate to their own spouse. But this is to the extent that the indecency will become widespread. The Shaykh mentions, he says, وَهَذَا نَوْعٌ مِنْ أَنْوَاعِ الدِّيَاثَةِ. And this is a type from the types of الدِّيَاثَةِ. Meaning the man is the youth. He has no jealousy for his women. They have no shyness. He doesn't care. He doesn't care who sees her and what they see from her. He doesn't care. But rather you will find that individuals, not just they don't care what is exposed from their women, but rather they encourage it and take pride in it. This is to the extent that the people will become sick. This is to the extent that the people will become corrupt, that they take pride in other people seeing what their wife or their whatever has to offer. فَهُوَ فَجُورٌ. This is indecency and horrible crimes and the like. Zina enters into this, as aforementioned. And homosexuality enters into this. Homosexuality, lesbianism, bisexuality, so on and so forth. All of this enters into al-khabath. وغير ذلك من أنواع الفجور وعياذ بالله. And other than that, from the types of sins and the types of crimes and the types of transgressions, all of this enters into al-khabath. Now, وقال الحافظ ابن عبد البر رحمه الله تعالى, he mentioned that والجملة وجملة القول في المعنى, and that the overwhelming statement or the concise statement of what could be said is the meaning of the word al-khabath, أنه اسم جامع, that it is a concise word that comprises of many meanings, meaning يجمع الزنا وغيره من الشر والفساد والمنكرات في الدين, is that it will enter and it will encompass all types of fornication, all types of indecent sexual behavior, all types of evil and filth, and all types of sins inside of the religion. That it all enters into the meaning of al-khabath, where sin becomes widespread. When sin becomes widespread, when people don't feel the need to hide, when they do it out in the open and they do it in public. نعم وعياذ بالله. فإذا فشى المنكر في الدين والفشى الفساد والفشى الشر كانت الأمة عرضة للهلاك. Is that when the sins and the evil and the indecency and the like becomes widespread, then at that point the nation is subject for destruction. That nation, it has opened itself up now for destruction. وقال عمر عبد العزيز رحمه الله تعالى كان يقال إن الله لا يعذب العامة بذنوب الخاصة ولكن إذا صنع المنكر جهارا استحق العقوبة. That it used to be said that Allah does not punish the general masses for the sins of the few. That Allah does not punish the general masses for the sins of the individual. However, when the sins are committed openly, then at that point, all of them are subject to punishment. Then at that point, all of them are subject to punishment. وَهَذَا مَعْنَى, and the meaning of this means, إِذَا قَدِرُوا عَلَى الْإِنْكَارِ فَلَمْ يُنْكِرْ, meaning, فَلَمْ يُنْكِرُوا, meaning that if they have the ability to negate or they have the ability to warn against these crimes, but they don't do it. If they have the ability to warn against it, to try to prevent it, to caution people from it, and they don't do it, then they are subject to being punished. Then they are subject to being punished. Now, so this is one scenario, that they see all of these crimes and these transgressions, but they don't warn against it. They don't say anything. They stay to themselves, and so on and so forth. Then this will lead to everyone being subject to being destroyed. Now I want you to reflect over the mentality of the kuffar. I want you to reflect over their slogans and what they say and so on and so forth. I want you to reflect and to remember that they're saying what they're saying because the shayateen, they talk to one another. Now, they talk to one another and they encourage one another with evil and sin and transgression and so on and so forth. From the kuffar, what do they say? Let bygones be bygones. Now, each person to themselves, to do what they want, so on and so forth. This is what they say. If a person wants to do what they want to do, let them do what they do, and that's their business. It's not for you to say anything. Let them be whoever it is they want to be. Do you see? But this type of mentality, in other words, not forbidding the evil, this type of mentality, once it becomes widespread and becomes the norm, then this subjects everyone to being destroyed. This subjects everyone to being destroyed. Now, because the believer, we call to good and we forbid the evil. We call to what is right and we forbid what is wrong. So when we enter into the spread, or what is, when everyone will be subject to being destroyed, then it will be when the evil becomes widespread and people are not warning against it. People are not warning against it. Now reflect upon that. And now reflect upon the reality that there are certain sins, there are certain people from the demographic, that if you were to openly warn against them and so on and so forth, then you may be liable and subject to prosecution by the Kafir state. Now, some people off limits. You understand? You don't talk about this group of people. You're going to lose your job. You're going to lose this. You're going to lose your endorsement. To the end of it, whatever it is, people have to be lost, then they can lose. You understand? SubhanAllah. Do you see how the stage is being set? Do you see how it is being set to the point, and how it is being opened and people have a license to be as foul and corrupt and indecent and despicable as they want to be, and it's not for anyone to say anything to them. وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. Now, ala kulli hal. Also, what enters into this, which should be very terrifying for all of us. And like I said, there are certain places better than other places. Now, most of what you find, or not most, let's say like this, the reality. Whatever you find from the sin and transgressions that are present inside of the Muslim lands, it is worse in the Kafir lands. That makes sense? Huh? Whatever we find from things we don't like in the Muslim lands, then know for surety, and I don't got to tell you because you know you here, it's worse in the Kafir lands. It's worse, hands down. No argument. It's worse in the Kafir land. Now, but reflect on this. قال ابن عربي, he said that فيه البيان أن that الخير يهلك بهلاك الشرير, that the good people, they also will be destroyed with the evil people. They all will be destroyed at once. Now, إذا لم يغير عليه خبثه, if he doesn't change his despicable behavior out khubutha, or he doesn't change his indecency, if they don't change it, if the religious people don't change it, if they don't say nothing, they don't change it, then they all will be subject to be destroyed. وَكَذَلِكَ, and then he mentions, وَكَذَلِكَ إِذَا غَيَّرَ عَلَيْهِ وَلَكِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يُجْدِي أي لا ينفع. He said also they are subject to being destroyed if they try to change it, but their warning from it has no effect. If they try to change it, But their warning from it has no effect. It has no effect. Why? Because the sins have become so widespread that even warning and cautioning people against it will have no effect. Because that's how, and that's to the extent that it has become widespread. To the point where يُصِرُّ الشَّرِيرُ عَلَى عَمَلِهِ السَّيِّئِ, that the evil person will continue upon his evil behavior, na'am, وَيَفْشُو, and it becomes widespread, وَيَكْثُرُ حَتَّى يَعُمَّ الْفَسَادِ, it will become widespread until the general masses of the situation will be corruption and sin and filth, na'am, فَيَحْلَكَ حِينَئِذٍ الْقَلِيلُ وَالْكَثِيرُ. So at that point, the minority that's not with this stuff and the majority that is with this stuff, they'll all be destroyed. They will all be destroyed. ثُمَّ يُحْشَرْ كُلُّ أَحَدٍ عَلَى نِيَّتِهِ. And then every individual will be raised upon their intention. Every individual will be raised upon their intention. However, they will all be destroyed. They will all be destroyed. Na'am. This shows you, because regardless on whether we see Ya'juj or Ma'juj or not, the spread of corruption will have an effect and a bearing upon us and upon our families and upon our children and our descendants. It will have an effect upon us. Now, our mother, radiyallahu ta'ala anha, when the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam informed that there's been an opening in the wall of Ya'juj or Ma'juj, فهمت من فتح القدر المذكور من الردم, she understood that from the barrier being opened just a little bit, to the extent that it was mentioned that it was open, أن الأمر إذا تمادى على ذلك اتسع الخرق, that if this situation were to continue and to perpetuate, then this hole, it will become greater and it will broaden and it will widen, بحيث يخرجون, to the point that they're going to get out. Ya'juj and Ma'juj is going to get out. If this continues and persists, this opening, and it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, then eventually they're going to get out. وَكَانَ عِنْدَهَا عِلْمٌ أَنَّ خُرُوجَهُمْ فِيهِ إِهْلَاكٌ لِلْأُمَّةِ. And she knew that them getting out, she had knowledge that them getting out means destruction for the ummah. That them getting out, it means destruction for the ummah. And that's what motivated her to ask that question. أَنُهْلِكُ وَفِينَا الصَّالِحُونَ. Will we be destroyed and there are righteous people yet still amongst us? Na'am. فهذا hadith, this hadith, how we can understand how the spread of corruption destroys everybody. Na'am, the Shaykh, he mentions, he says, أَنَّ النَّارُ الْفِتْنَةِ, the fire of fitna, إِذَا وَقَعَتْ فِي مَوْضِعٍ واشتدت ولم ينكرها أهل الخير أهلك الرطب واليابس, is that the fire and the flames of turmoil, if they take place inside of a particular location and they intensify without the good people warning against them and trying to put them out and extinguish them. Now, if the flames of fitna spark up in a place and they intensify without the good people trying to extinguish them, then the flames and the fire of fitna, it will destroy, it will burn up the ripe fruit and the dry grass or the dry leaves. Now, so it would burn everything, the moist vegetation and the dry vegetation. وَغَلَبَتْ عَلَى الطَّاهِرِ وَالنَّجِسِ, and it will overcome the pure and the impure. Now, just like a fire, it's like a forest fire. When it comes, it burns everything. It burns the dead tree and the living tree. It burns the moist and ripe fruit, and it burns the old dead dry leaves and shrubs and the like. It destroys everything. It destroys that which is pure and that which is impure. Now, so therefore it will overtake the righteous one and it will overtake the sinner. وقال ابن بطال رحمه الله تعالى يعني أنذر النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يعني أنذر النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في هذا الحديث, that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he warned in this hadith بقرب قيام الساعة, with the warning of the establishment of the hour. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he warned in this hadith from the approach of the establishment of the hour. Shaykh Sulaimani says, لماذا? Why? Why did the Prophet ﷺ warn from that? قال كي يتوبوا قبل أن تهجم عليهم, so that they could repent, before they are overtaken by it. So they could repent before they are overtaken by it. This is something that we have to take extremely serious. You know, when it comes to our aqeedah, Shaykh Salih Abdis al-Shaykh, he mentions that our aqeedah, then this is the most precious thing that we have. Our aqeedah, this is the most precious thing that we have. It's our aqeedah. Now, and I want you really to reflect upon that, because when we believe correctly in Ya'juj and Ma'juj, and that the opening has been opened to such an extent which is pointing to the closeness and the approach of that wall being broken down and them being set free, it is so that we have the opportunity to repent before we are overtaken. We have the opportunity to repent before we are overtaken. This fitna is a fitna that is serious. We have to strive to train ourselves and to rear ourselves and to condition ourselves with the type of iman that would allow us to survive the likes of these events, meaning with our iman intact. So that when the flames of fitna come, you don't find that we leave Islam and we stop wanting to be Muslims, and you understand? We have to get ourselves and try to strengthen ourselves and get to that point so that we will be able to survive the likes of these things. Because this fitna is so intense. This fitna is so great. I want you to understand, it's so great and it's so intense that it comes inside a hadith of Abu Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu that reaches back to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, وَيْلٌ لِلْعَرَبِ مِنْ شَرْ قَدْ اِقْتَرَبَ. He said, woe to the Arab from an evil that has become near. Woe to the Arab, meaning because this calamity is about to strike them. This calamity is about to overtake them. Woe unto them from an evil that has grown near. Listen to what the Prophet ﷺ said on how bad this fitna is going to be. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Mutu in istata'tum." He said, die if you can. This fitna is so intense, it's better you die before it. Not meaning kill yourself. No. The Prophet ﷺ is informing us, this fitna is so bad that it's better that you die before it. Hope to die before this fitna happen. That's how serious this is. Do you understand? So when it comes to believing correctly, it's our most important commodity. This is our most important thing. It's our aqeedah. It's our most important thing. Because if we don't believe correctly, and we are in just la land as relates to these affairs, and our heads are stuck in the clouds somewhere, we never focus and contemplate about the likes of these things, then how will we ever be prepared for their occurrence? How will we ever be prepared when the stage is set for their occurrence? How will we be prepared if we don't truly believe in these things, if we don't prepare for these things? Because for the one that truly believes in the day of judgment, as the ulama they mentioned, the one that truly believes in the day of judgment is the one who prepares for it. The one who doesn't prepare for it, subhanallah, Allah, you understand? The ulama they mentioned, they bring an example. They say it's like the one who comes, and he comes in and he says, hey, the house is on fire. The house is on fire. Now, I seen the flames from the outside. Maybe those on the inside didn't realize. Maybe it's the second floor on fire. They didn't smell smoke, whatever. I don't know. But they didn't realize the house is on fire. So he comes in and said, listen, the house is on fire. It's about to burn down. Everybody, come on, let's go. Let's get out. The person says, you know, man, I believe you. I believe what you're saying. But I'm just going to stay here. I believe what you're saying. I believe you. You said the house on fire. You said it's about to fall down. It's about to collapse and it's going to be engulfed in flames. I believe you 100%. I'm with you. Trust me, I believe you. But I'm going to stay here. I'm going to stay here. They said, then what's the situation of that individual except one or two things? Is that one, there's a deficiency in the intellect. This is probable. That there's a deficiency in the intellect, and that is what motivating them to stay put. Or they really don't believe you. They really don't believe you. Now, yeah, I believe you. It's on fire. Yeah, okay. And they stay there. You understand? Because if a person really understood the house is on fire, what? He's going to jump up. House on fire. And then you're going to investigate, but from where? Outside. You're going to go outside and look around and say, oh, yeah, it's flames. Wow. But you're not going to stay around and try to figure it out from inside the house. No, why? Because you value your life. You understand? For the one who has intellect. In any event, the one who says they believe in the hereafter but don't prepare for it, it makes no sense. When we speak about these signs that are going to happen when the hour is getting near, it's for what? It's so we can prepare ourselves for the hour. You understand? Because regardless of the case may be, these are signs that point to the nearness and the establishment of the hour. Whether you live to see the major signs or not, what's the reality? Is that we all gonna see the hour. We all gonna be there Yawm al-Qiyamah. Now, Sahwalillah. We're all gonna be there. We're all gonna be judged. We're all gonna have to go through what is gone through, for the believer on the day of judgment. There's no way around that. So whether we see the world right before it ends or not, we're going to be there for the day of judgment. So regardless, we have to get ourselves ready. And by believing properly in the signs of the day of judgment, it's so that we can recognize them when we see them. Because when you see them and you recognize them, now you're getting ready more. You understand? It's like you ever seen they have a countdown? Like when you're taking a test. When you're taking a test, right, in school, and then the teacher walks around, and what they say? 15 minutes left. Then 5 more minutes left. 10 minutes left. Then 5 minutes left. Why did the teacher come and say that? Why did he give you a heads up when it's the 15-minute mark? It's to encourage you to what? Wrap it up. Finish up. Because you know there's a certain amount of questions you have to answer to be eligible to even to pass. Right? So wrap it up. Get ready. The test is over. Don't spend too much time on a question. If you don't know it, go to the next one. Because the test's about to be over. Right? So they give you indication. Give you signs to let you know the test is about to be over. So when we see these signs that of the approach of the end of days, this is to what? It's to give us indication this world about to be over. Hurry up. Do what you got to do. Get yourself right. Get yourself right now. Don't procrastinate. Hurry up. Get right now. Don't wait. Because you may not be around. You understand? Or a situation may come you ain't ready for. If the Dajjal come right now, we ready right now to deal with that fitna? Huh? I'm just saying, we ready right now? What are we doing to get ready? The Prophet ﷺ told us we memorize a certain portion of Surah Al-Kahf. It's a protection from the Dajjal. Now the ulama, some say certain portion from the front, certain portion from the back. So the person that's wise, what did he say? I was memorize the whole thing. Right? Person that's wise, he said I was memorize the whole thing covered. Whether it's the first 10, last 10, don't matter. I got them all. You understand? So now my question is to us, and I'm saying this to myself first. I don't want nobody to say, hey, no. I'm saying this, I'm talking to me first. What am I doing to be ready? How's my Surah Al-Kahf? Right? Subhanallah. You got many people don't even read it Yawm Jumu'ah. Don't even read it Yawm Jumu'ah. Subhanallah. Now, and inside of this tremendous surah comes what? The story of the imprisonment of Ya'juj and Ma'juj. Now, so it is incumbent that we get ourselves ready. And from getting ourselves ready is memorizing that surah. Because this fitna is tremendous. The Prophet ﷺ said, if you can die, then die. If you can die, is die. It's better for you to die than to live to see that. Now, Sheikh Saleh, Sheikh Sulaiman, Sheikh Sulaiman Rahili, he says, فَالْمَوْتْ أَهْوَنْ. He said, because death is easier. Death is easier than dealing with this calamity. Now, قال, he said, في هذا غاية التحذير من الفتن والخوض فيها. He said, in this is the strongest level of warning from fitna and from indulging inside of fitna. Remember, ya ibad, that when we reach that point that the fitna becomes widespread, that type of fitna, that it will destroy us all. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in His noble book, وَاتَّقُوا فِتْنَةً لَا تَصِيبَنَّ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا مِنْكُمْ خَاصَّةً. Allah ta'ala, He says what it means, and beware of a fitna that does not strike the criminals from you only. Because it strikes who? Everybody. Those who are criminals and those who are not criminals. Everyone is subject to being struck down by the likes of this fitna. Now, so when it comes to the affair of Ya'juj and Ma'juj, it's time for that. Is it or no? It is?
Good.
Okay. طيب إن شاء الله. نعم. نتوقف إن شاء الله.
That ayah you just brought.
Huh?
Someone is short-term term.
I just saw a little ayah.
That is one of khas.
Oh, the last one that was mentioned.
No.
Surah Anfal 25. How much time before the Iqamah?
Half an hour.
Half an hour? Okay, fair enough. But as far as Ya'juj wal Ma'juj, so we can get some more information about them. Al-Ya'juj wal Ma'juj يقال لهم يأجوج ومأجوج. نعم, they're called Ya'juj wa Ma'juj. ويقال, and they're also called Ya'juj wa Ma'juj. نعم, so they're called Ya'juj with the Hamza and Ma'juj, and they're also called Ya'juj wa Ma'juj with no Hamza. نعم. قال بعض العلماء, some of the ulama, they say Ya'juj wa Ma'juj بدون الهمزة أفصح. نعم, that Ya'juj and Ma'juj without the Hamza, then this is afsah, is more classical, for lack of a better term. It's more classical. They're both classical, they're both fasih. Now, most of the qira'at for the Quran, now, most of the qira'at come with Ya'juj and Ma'juj without the Hamza. Most of the recitations come Ya'juj, Ma'juj. However, they both are fasih. So you have Ya'juj with Ma'juj and Ma'juj with Ma'juj. Ya'juj with Ma'juj, Ya'juj with Ma'juj. Now, but when Ya'juj with Ma'juj من ماج الشيء إذا اضطرب. نعم. It means something crashing together, crashing and overcoming and coming together. أي أنهم يموج بعضهم في بعض من كثرتهم, because they're like, it's like they're crashing waves that crash into each other due to their multitudes in number. نعم. وكثرتهم, and because they're so many and so numerous that they crash into each other. You understand? Now, I want you to benefit from some of the extractions that the ulama they mentioned for the names, or where their names derive from potentially, because each of these actually gives a description of Ya'juj and Ma'juj. Naam. So from it is that it means the things that crash into one another due to their being extremely numerous and to their great number. وَقِيلَ مِنْ أَجِيجِ النَّارِ, and it is said that it is from أَجِيجِ النَّارِ. نعم. وَهُوَ تَهَابُهَا, and it is when the fire intensifies. نعم. كَالنَّارِ الَّتِي تَأْكُلُ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ, it is like the fire that burns down everything. It's like the fire that is so hot, and the intensity of its heat devours everything. Right? Because not all flames burn everything. Certain flames burn certain things, but other things, it's not hot enough for it. Then you have other flames that they engulf, they incinerate everything. They're so hot, it burns down everything in its path. So some of the ulama, they say that this is where the name it comes from. It's from this type of fire. Others from the ulama, they say, وَقِيلَ مِنْ يعني الْأَجَّةِ وَهُوَ اِخْتِلَاطٌ. It means that they say, no, it's from al-ajja. And al-ajja means al-ikhtilat, because there's so many, and so they're interwoven with each other, but due to their great multitudes. وَقِيلَ مِنْ يعني الأجة أي مشدة الحر. And other ulama, they say, no, it means that al-ajja meaning from the intensity of the heat. From the intensity of the heat. And this is why they're called with this name, because it's like a fire that incinerates everything, but it's extremely hot. And that's where the name it derives from. And others from the ulama, they say al-ajj. Then it comes from al-ajj, وَهِيَ السُّرْعَةِ الْعَدُوِ, and it is the speed of the enemy. Naam. فَهُمْ يُسْرِعُونَ سُرْعَةً شَدِيدًا, so that they are extremely fast. Meaning, an enemy that's so ferocious and extremely fast, you can't get away from him, you can't escape, you can't outrun him. Right? And they say that this is what their name comes from. Others from the ulama, they say, وَقِيلَ الْأُجَاجِ وَهُوَ الْمَاءُ الْمَالِحِ شَدِيدُ الْمُلُوحَةِ. It means that it comes from ujaj, which means salty water that's extremely salty. Salty water that's extremely salty to the point where not even a microorganism can live in it. It's that salty that it's just destructive, right? وكل هذه الصفات تدل على عظم أذاهم. Sheikh Sulaiman al-Ruhaili mentions, he says, all of these descriptions, it points to their extreme harm. It points to how they are going to cause and make havoc. Na'am. أي أذاهم شديد, meaning that their harm is tremendous. Their harm is no joke. Na'am. وَقِيلَ يَأْجُوزُ وَمَأْجُوزُ. And also from the ulama, and I saved this one for last, right? The Sheikh, he saved it for last, so I'm going the same order, right? But he saved it for last. وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ وَأَعْلَمُ. He says that الْيَأْجُوزُ وَمَأْجُوزُ اسْمَانِ أَعْجَمِيَانِ فَلَا اشْتِقَاقَ لَهُمَا. That Ya'juj and Ma'juj are actually non-Arab names, so that there are nothing that is derived from meaning in the Arabic language. Ala kulli hal, those things that it is probable that they're derived from, or potentially deriving from the Arabic language, gives us very vivid and accurate descriptions of Ya'juj and Ma'juj. Now, so we still benefit. Now, and his wisdom, and why he brought that last one last, because if you bring it first, then you might turn off some people's brains. They don't listen no more. But the point is to get the description, because regardless on whether it derived from an Arabic word or not, those descriptions are accurate as relates to Ya'juj and Ma'juj. وَمَنْهُمْ? Who are they? Who is Ya'juj and Ma'juj? Hum qawm al-mufsidun. They are people who are tremendously corrupt and yani despicable. They are despicable and corrupt people. But they're from min salalat al-Adam. They are from the offspring of Adam, alayhi salatu wassalam, kama thabata fi sahihain. They are from the offspring of Adam, as it has been authentically reported inside of the sahihain, of the two collections of authentic hadith. Inna Allah ta'ala yaqul ya Adam, that Allah ta'ala on the day of judgment is going to say, O Adam. فيقول, and Adam here will respond, لبيك وسعديك. And then فيقول, Allah Ta'ala will say, ابعث بعث النار. Get from your offspring the people that's going to go to the fire. فيقول وما بعث النار. And he said, and what is the portion, what is the percentage of them that's going to go to the fire? فيقول من كل 1999. From every 1,000, 999. From every 1,000, 999. 999. 999 from 1,000. Allah musta'an. من كل 1,000 واحد في الجنة. From every 1,000, just one person for Jannah. From every 1,000, one person for Jannah. وتسعمية في النار من ذرية الآدم. And 999 from the children of Adam will go to the fire. نعم. فحينئذ يشيب صغير. At that point, the young person will go completely gray. The young person will be so terrified, they will go completely gray. وَتَضَعْ كُلِّ ذَاتٍ حَمْلٍ حَمْلَهَا. And every woman that's pregnant will drop a load. They will drop their load. نعم. على كل حال, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gave glad tidings to the companions, because this was startling. And he said that the 999, they will be from Ya'juj and Ma'juj, and the one from his ummah. Naam, from the believers, the one from the believers. Naam. Ala kulli hal, the shahid here is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Adam to take from his offspring the people that's going to go to the fire. Naam. And that 999 out of every 1,000 will be from Ya'juj and Ma'juj, so that means that they are from the offspring of Adam, alayhi salatu wassalam. That makes sense? Now, and they are from وَهُمْ مِن نَسْلِ نُوحٍ. They are from the descendants of Nuh, as has been authentically reported in the Musnad of Imam Ahmad. Alaykum salam to Allah. Has been authentically reported in the Musnad of Imam Ahmad that they are from the descendants of Nuh, alayhi salatu wassalam. Now, min awlad Yafith. And they're from the children of Yafith. Naam, this is his name, from the sons of Nuh. Naam, from the offspring of Nuh. Then you have Yafith. Yafith bin Nuh. Yafith, the son of Nuh. And it's spelled Ya Alif Fa Tha. Yafith. They are from Yafith. كما ثبت في مسند Imam Ahmad, as it is coming in Musnad of Imam Ahmad. Naam. So they're human beings. To take away the human beings, they're from the offspring of Adam alayhi salatu wassalam, and they're from by way of Nuh, from the offspring of Nuh, descendants of Nuh, from his son Yafith bin Nuh. Naam. طيب, والحكى النووي, and Imam النووي he mentions في شرح المسلم عن بعض الناس. And بعض الناس, Imam al-Nawawi, he mentions in the explanation of Sahih Muslim. نعم. جاء في بعض الروايات عن الكعب. There come some narrations attributed to Ka'b. أن اليأجوج ومأجوج من ذرية آدم وليسوا من ذرية الحواء. That some narrations come and say that Ya'juj and Ma'juj are from the offspring of Adam, but not Hawa. They're from the offspring of Adam, but not Hawa. Alayhum salatu wassalam. Shaykh Sulaimani says, Kaif? How's this? قالوا, these people, they say, إن آدم عليه الصلاة والسلام احتلم يوما فأصاب منيه التراب فخلق من ذلك يأجوج ومأجوج. Some of these narrations, they say that Adam عليه الصلاة والسلام, one night he had a wet dream, and his seminal fluid, it fell upon the dirt, and then from that Ya'juj and Ma'juj were created. Now, this is what is was said. You understand? Now, I stop here to say this. The ulama, at times they will mention narrations like this inside of their books to point out the erroneousness of these narrations, that these narrations are false. They're not true. Now, and this is why they bring them. Not because they believed in them, but as an indication to show people what is not accurate, what is not correct, what is wrong, but it has been said. Now, so this is from one of those things that's incorrect as relates to Ya'juj and Ma'juj. They did not come because Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, he had a wet dream. هذا لا يصح. This is not correct. Now, ولذلك قال ابن كثير, and for this Ibn Kathir he mentions هذا قول غريب جدا. He said this statement is tremendously strange. This statement is far out. It's tremendously strange. He says لا من عقل ولا من نقل عفوا لا دليل عليه لا من عقل ولا من نقل. He said there's no proof for it. There's no proof for it intellectually and not textually. There's no proof for this. نعم. ولا يجوز اعتماد, and it's not permissible to rely in these affairs على ما يحكيه بعض الأهل الكتاب. It is not permissible to rely on the narrations of the people of the book, because this strange narration it came from the people of the book. It's one of the lies that they say. But it's not correct. It's not correct. And even though the lies on Ya'juj and Ma'juj, still they don't support lies. It's a lie. It's not right. It's not correct. And it's not correct because it is a lie upon our father Adam alayhi salatu wassalam. Naam. Person is saying, well, how come? Why? Wait. I won't give it away. Check this out. One of the ulama from the past, he tested the intelligence of his students. One of the ulama from the past, he tested the intelligence of his students. So he asked them, he said that if إذا احتلم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فكيف يصنع بثيابه. He said if the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم had a wet dream, what would you do with his thawb? What would be the state of the thawb? What would you do? So the students, they started to put forth opinions. They started to put forth opinions. Some said you wash it. Some says, well, if it's wet, you do this. If it dries, you do that, and so on and so forth. So they were all debating amongst themselves, and what would you do? So one of them responded, and he said, "An-Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam la yahtalim." He said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam don't have wet dreams. It's not possible. So the Shaykh, he honored him. He honored him more than everybody else. And then he explained to them why he honored him more than everybody else. Firstly, he used the word either, if it were to, which is an indication that if it were to happen, then what? Which means that it has to happen in order for it to take place. Now, not saying that when he did it before, but if he were to. And they bring an example of this. One of the early men from the past, testing the intelligence of his students, he used the same word, either, where he said that there was a statue, and if it got thirsty, if it were to get thirsty, then it'll come down and get something to drink. So the students went, he said, what? Huh? Statue? But he was testing their knowledge of the language, because he used the word either, which means if it possibly were to get thirsty, then this is what will happen. But because it doesn't get thirsty, then of course it's not possible for it to happen. It's improbable. Now, so likewise, this same word was used here. That if it were possible that it could happen, then what would be done? So this student that was really intelligent, he said, no. He said, Nabi, la yahtalim. He said, the Prophet ﷺ doesn't have a wet dream. It's not possible. Why? Sheikh Sulaiman, he said, because al-ihtilam min tala'ib al-shaytan. He said, because wet dreams are from shaitan playing with people. This is from the tricks and the playing of shaitan, how he played with people. Was shaitan la yatala'ib ma bil anbiya. But shaitan, he don't play with the prophets like this. He's not allowed to play with the prophets like this. So there's no prophet or messenger that ever had a wet dream. So from that standpoint alone, we know that narration that Adam had a wet dream and then it hit the dirt and that's where Ya'juj Ma'juj came from. We know that's false. Why? Because prophets don't have wet dreams. You see? Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. So that statement of our father Adam having a wet dream is not correct. So therefore they are from the descendants of both Adam and Hawa. They are from the descendants and they're from the children of Adam and Hawa. Well, Ya'juj and Ma'juj, they are a people who they have a tremendous number. They are a tremendously big nation. However, we want to save this and that which follows from it. Okay, we'll mention that and then we'll stop, inshallah ta'ala. Mention that and we stop. Al-Ya'juj and Ma'juj, they are extremely great people as far as in number. قال حافظ ابن حجر, he mentioned أخرج الحاكم وغيره. The Al-Hakim and others, they mentioned that from Ya'juj and Ma'juj, they are from the children of Adam. And that no individual from them dies. نعم وَلَنْ يَمُوتْ منه رجل إلا ترك من ذريته ألفا فصعدا. That no man dies from Ya'juj and Ma'juj except that he leaves behind 1,000 or more children. No man dies from Ya'juj and Ma'juj except he leaves behind him 1,000 or more children. Naam. And this narration has come from a narration that is authentic, bisanad al-sahih, from a narration that is authentic. Naam. So Ya'juj and Ma'juj, they are human beings. They are from the children of Adam and Hawa. They are extremely numerous in number. Naam. And hence, going back to the probable derivative of where their names have come from, because there's so much that they crash upon one another. They're like waves that crash upon one another due to the tremendous number of them. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions their story inside the Quran. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he mentions what will occur as relates to Ya'juj and Ma'juj in the time when Isa, when he returns, alayhi salatu wa salam. But inshallah ta'ala, we'll get into the both of those بإذن ta'ala inside of the next class. فنكتفي بهذا القدر وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وجزاكم الله خيرا.